If I offend you, I'm on kingdom business. Demons get irritated when the truth start hitting. I ain't here to please, I'm here on assignment. Jesus smiling down, yeah, I'm moving alignment. We fishing for soul.
Hey friends, and welcome back to another episode of Gracefully Evolving with Lee, where faith meets real life, and we're learning to trust God through every season because God is still writing a story. Thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed to the channel, supported the podcast, shared an episode, sent a message, or simply just listened. Y'all have no idea how much your support means to me. Now, if you're just coming into this episode because the title caught your attention, pause this one and go back to the previous episodes first. Trust me, the stories connect and will all make sense when you hear the journey from the beginning. Now, for y'all who've been rocking with me since day one, hey y'all! Let's jump into today's episode, When God Didn't Make Sense. I've been taking y'all on my journey through life. The heartbreaks, the disappointments, the reality checks, the loneliness, the confusion, the identity crisis, the mess. And honestly, this episode won't be too long because I can't tell too much without stepping into another episode story. But let's rewind back to college right quick. I remember arriving at Nicholls State University with this fire burning inside of me for God. I was there to conquer whatever stood in my way. Remember, being an educator wasn't just my dream. It was my parents' dream too. It was the goal: finish school, get the degree, build a successful life. So here I am at Nicholls State University with one of my childhood friends, majoring in education and her in nursing. And listen, the minute we told our parents goodbye and watched them drive off, freedom entered the chat. You hear me? Now let me give y'all a little background. Nicholls is a PWI located in Thibodaux, Louisiana. And if you know anything about Black people, baby, we find each other real quick. And somehow all of us ended up together. Now, without exposing too much, because I know adults are listening and we know how they can get once they discover something. Let's just say I thoroughly enjoyed my college experience. Meeting new people, building friendships. Those Thursday night parties, because everybody went home on the weekends, the house parties. Lord have mercy. Matter of fact, one of the parties at my house got shut down by campus police. And the crazy part is, before they shut it down, Before I Let You Go by Frankie Beverly and Maze had just came on. And we were singing at the top of our lungs. If you know, you know. And then the dating world. Jesus Christ. I was a sucker for love, but I was also Big Red's daughter. So yeah, that combination was very interesting. Then there were the late nights, shots and donuts at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning, knowing good and well I had a 7:30 a.m. class. At this point, oh well, it was 9 years ago. I can't get in trouble now for it, but through all of it, I still found myself getting up for church, faithfully for the most part. There was always this little voice in the back of my head reminding me of something my daddy used to say. If you could stay up all night partying and give your time to the devil, you can get up and give some time to God on Sunday. Listen, back then I used to think this man is crazy. But you know what? Every Sunday I found myself getting up and going anyway. As college continued, things started to get a little shaky. I remember me and my roommate getting those letters after our first semester saying we were on academic probation and losing our scholarships. Baby, we cried. Real tears. Then turned around and wrote an appeal letter so fast. We were trying to save our lives here, y'all. But unfortunately, after another semester of working really hard, the scholarships were gone. Now, reality was settling in. School wasn't easy anymore. Money wasn't flowing the same. Life was getting real. So I got my first on-campus job working in E-Block. Now, for those of you who know, y'all know. And even though it wasn't what I imagined college would look like, that job introduced me to some amazing people. Some of those relationships I still have to this day. Then time kept moving. And eventually the rest of the G4L's crew showed up. And baby, We went to another level. It became a rotation. Who cooking? Who driving? Who house we meeting up? Where we going? You saw one of us. You saw all of us. Okay, we were outside. But one thing about Lee, I was still getting up and going to church every Sunday, no matter how late Saturday night had ended. And then life happened. My college journey was slowly coming to an end. But right before I turned 21 years old, I lost one of my best friends, David, to gun violence. I'll never forget it. David was in Houston and asked me what I wanted for my birthday. And my answer was so simple. I told him, the only thing I want for you is to come home. And 2 months before my birthday, I was robbed of that. And that did something to me, y'all. Something shifted, not just emotionally, but spiritually. My relationship with Jesus started changing. Questions started coming up. Pain started showing up differently. Grief has a way of making you look at life differently. And while I was navigating all of that, another battle was waiting on me. Them certification tests. Now let's make something clear. Because my major was birth to 3 and early interventionist, I had to take 11 state certification exams. Yes, 11. And y'all remember that stupid test I mentioned before in previous episodes? The one that I failed 7 times? Yeah, that's the one that has a whole story by itself. But if I'm being honest with y'all, I wouldn't necessarily say I was grieving people moving on with their lives because I was actually the first one who left. I was the one who went back home without a degree after 4 years of college. I was the one sitting in my advisor's offices asking how far would they travel for student teaching placements. It ended up being Jefferson Parish, which was cool. But what wasn't cool was the embarrassment of filling out that student teaching application over and over again. Every semester, it was due at a certain time so they could start the placement process. I would get everything lined up, meet the teachers I would potentially be working with, start preparing for what was supposed to be the next step, and then every single time, I had to send the same exact email. Dear so and so, unfortunately, due to not passing my practice exam, I will not be student teaching this semester. And that email broke me every single time because it felt like I was letting people down. It felt like I was falling further behind. It felt like watching the life that I had planned to keep getting pushed further and further away. So eventually, I went right ahead and became a full-time preschool teacher, which was honestly always part of my plan anyway. I never really pictured myself going into the school system. I love those babies. I still do. Looking back now, I think it was God preparing me for something bigger, preparing me to be a mommy, teaching me how to love, how to nurture, how to show up for little hearts that needed care. Because remember, I told y'all before that I didn't really have that from my own mama. But what I need y'all to understand is this. During that time of preparing for my test, I wasn't being lazy. I wasn't avoiding the work. I was studying for months, hours and hours every day. When I got serious, I got serious. I was fasting. I was praying. I was believing God. I was asking God to help me pass. And every single time, failure again, failure again, failure again. And that's when God stopped making sense to me. And it's not because I stopped believing in him, not because I stopped loving him, but because I couldn't understand him. How could you place this very dream in my heart? How could you call me into education? How could you tell me that this was a part of my purpose and then allow the very thing connected to my purpose to keep defeating me? It didn't make sense, y'all. I was embarrassed, ashamed, emotionally drained, spiritually drained, confused. And maybe some of y'all have asked God those same kind of questions. Maybe it wasn't a certification test. Maybe it was a marriage, a job, a ministry, a friendship, a child, a diagnosis, a prayer that you've been praying for years. And you're sitting there wondering, God, if this is your will, why is it so hard? If you open the door, why does it feel like it's closing? If you promised it, why does it feel it's so far away? Because that's where I was. I wasn't questioning God's existence. I was questioning his methods. I wasn't struggling with whether he was real. I was struggling with why he was allowing this to happen. And honestly, for the first time in my life, I started pulling away. I started turning my back toward God. Now, let's be real. I didn't stop believing he existed, okay? I did not become an atheist overnight, but I was disappointed because it felt like no matter how hard I worked, no matter how much I studied, no matter how much I prayed, no matter how much I fasted, the answer was still no. And when you spend your entire life believing God will come through, eventually, disappointment starts turning into distance. I was exhausted because now I wasn't just questioning the test, I was questioning my purpose, questioning my calling, questioning my future, questioning whether I had heard God correctly at all. Because disappointment will make you question things you never thought you questioned. Looking back now, I realized God was teaching me something I couldn't see at the time. That faith isn't just trusting God when he says yes. Faith is trusting him when the answer is wait. Faith is trusting him when the answer is not yet. And faith is trusting him when he doesn't explain himself at all. But what I didn't know then was that God was doing some of his greatest work in the middle of my confusion. And baby, that's a story for the next episode. But before we go, I want to leave you with a question. Have you ever experienced a season where God didn't make sense? If you're comfortable sharing, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And if your answer is yes, please know you are not alone. Sometimes the strongest faith is choosing to trust God even when you don't understand what he's doing. But until next time, keep growing, keep trusting God, and keep giving yourself grace while you evolve. This is Gracefully Evolving with Lee, and I'll talk to y'all in the next episode. Bye, friends!